Getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
on this track is you have to be aggressive on those curbs. That's the only way you can get a good quality time out of the lap. We got nice long straightaways, so make sure you use the draft to gain time. And then finally, you got to be aggressive on the brakes, which is kind of the double-edged sword. Is you have to be aggressive on the brakes to try and make moves to get passes made. However, you can't be too aggressive because obviously then you're talking about lockups. And as we saw with tires last night, if your rears are going and your fronts are going from significant lockups in the braking zones, you're going to struggle for the second half of this race.
Yeah, too right, Charles. And I got to say, I got out here and did a race in one of the public lobbies earlier today, and I found this track to be a balance of risk-taking and patience. And what I mean by that, there are a couple of corners where you really need to be patient on the throttle, particularly coming out of that Senna chicane turn 2. It seems like forever as you're rolling through there in second gear, waiting to put the hammer down with a car right in your rearview mirror. But you definitely have to be patient there. So easy to loop it. And also turn 10, that hairpin, got to be very, very patient putting the power down there as well. And as we talked about last week, these drivers are moving up from the F-4 cars that many of them drove in last season. So they got another 100 horsepower on tap here. And also the damage is on. And I might as well talk about the car. We are driving the FIA spec Formula 3 1,200 pounds 260 horsepower, 4-cylinder, normally aspirated engine. Damage model is on. And another thing that we're about to head into here in about 1 minute is an open qualifying session of about 15 minutes, which we have been enjoying for the last couple seasons in Sim Racers Group. They believe in open qualifying. It's realistic. It adds another layer of strategy and another layer of complexity in getting prepared for one of these races. And with only a 25-minute sprint, qualifying is super important here. So it'll be super interesting to see how it unfolds. It looks like a pretty clear forecast. And Mike, maybe we can get that little weather widget up right now. I will say one thing that I noted earlier, yeah, they're giving them a break here in the league setup. I drove on the public servers earlier, and the track was scorching hot. We're only looking at about 88 degrees currently, so the sun could come out, I guess, and make that worse. But getting a little kinder treatment than on the public servers. And I guess I would also say, Charles, this is a fixed setup race. And speaking of tire wear, I was getting a little bit of understeer into some of these chicanes where you really want the front end to bite so you can make good progress through the chicanes. And so maybe if you could tweak the setup a little bit, you could dial that out, but you can't. So we're stuck with the open setups, and that's going to make the front tire wear situation potentially more problematic than it is normally.
Yeah, absolutely. I did a little test driving when the session opened earlier, just to kind of get a feel for it, because I haven't been in the F3 car in a while. I really do like driving it, but I've kind of focused on more team management and then the occasional run in a GT3. But so yeah, I drove it a little bit, and I did notice that the fronts want to just want to kind of push a little bit. If you overdrive into a corner, you really have to have your speed right. Otherwise you're going to kind of push out of on the exits. Or if you maybe do a little thunderfoot action, you might loop the rear end. So yeah, and the hairpin, as you mentioned earlier, really difficult because not only is it a true 180, but then it kind of actually closes up, and you kind of have to move a little turn to the right. You see it right here. Your normal run out is pretty wide, but then it ties up, and you just got to kind of make it a right-hand corner there, right out of the hairpin. And if you get that line wrong, you're in the grass and you lose several seconds.
Yeah, and shaped like an actual hairpin. And the other thing about this track, of course, Charles, is risk. And we're going to be talking about that. Here's one of the spots right here as we go right up to the Wall of Champions. We're going to ride along now with, looks like we're with Adam Thompson right now, and I'll talk you through a little bit of this lap. Coming down out of fifth gear right here, got to get it woed up pretty good, dropping it into second. And here's the first place where you have to be patient. That long right-hander seems to take forever, and very easy to light up the rear tires. We're going to run it up to fourth here, drop it down into third, scrub off a little speed, and bang, back on the throttle right here. Oof. And try not to do that. That is one of the places where you're rolling the dice on every lap. You got to get as close to that wall as possible. And it looks like Thompson's car might have taken a little bit of a damage there. I'm not sure if it's driving right, but anyway, as the lap proceeds, a long back straight section here. The draft could play a role, and here we're going to drop it down into third on the power right here. And again, we're right up to the wall. You see those tire marks on that white concrete, and that's another place where you got to go all the way up within inches of that wall to optimize your lap times. Now we'll whoa it up, drop it down probably into second, unless you're feeling really heated. You might use first for a second, and on the long back straightaway. And this heads into a critical spot, Charles. There's going to be some heavy drafting going on this part of the track. There's going to be some contested entries into this final chicane. That's turn 12 and 13. And here comes the wall of champions. We'll see how Adam does it here. He's going to avoid the curb, be pretty conservative right there, but really easy to bounce over those curbs, upset the cars, and end up in that wall of champions. And Adam throwing down a decent time. Actually, not seeing in time frame. It looks like Jason Green. Oh, right. That little touch scratched his lap, but the lap's starting to come in. Jason Green has put up a 132.7. All that time has just disappeared. We're seeing some 133s. I think at the sharp end of the field, Charles, by the time this one's over, especially if we have some drivers catching draft at the right time, we're going to be down into the 131s here in qualifying. So we'll be looking at Case. We'll be looking at last events winner from Imola, Adam Thompson, to be down there in the 131s.
Yep, I was seeing those times in practice as well, and it would not surprise me. You get a good draft off somebody. So we're on board here, and you just kind of see this is Bali trailing behind the 44 car of Diego Posada, and as you can see that you're gonna gain probably, I would say, at least 3 or 4 tenths over the course of the lap, just by hanging behind somebody. And of course they could hold you up. And we didn't mention this, and I think, as we see this being there, just a little too much coming into that chicane, and that's going to invalidate his lap. But we didn't talk about this much because we don't expect pit stops. However, if you do get a car that does make contact with the wall somewhere, they're going to want to have to come in and take a pit stop, get their car repaired, fix a wing or whatever. Pit entry is basically right here at the end of the straightaway, and it is, as we see another car on the wall, that's the 45 car again. Very, very dangerous pit entry, and likewise a dangerous pit exit. So, like I said, probably not going to happen, but you never can tell. So you're going to be aware of that as well.
Yeah, got to be cautious about that, because if you're entering the pits there, you're not on the brakes until you're off the course. So if you're fixated on somebody's rear bumper there, and you're planning to take the chicane and they're planning to pit, you can't rely on them for your brake marker, because you'll end up way overcooking the entry to that chicane. Drifting the night away there. And man, oh man, that is what I'm talking about. That turn 2, very, very rough, and you can get away with that, Charles, a few times, but we really did see tire wear cause problems for these drivers in Imola, and 25 minutes of that is definitely not going to fly. So you can get away with it once or twice, but I would not make a habit of hanging these F3 cars sideways.
No, absolutely not. It's, like I said, as you said, as those tires wear, and you're going to be jumping curbs, trying to maximize your lap time, it's going to be much more difficult for that car to settle down and give you the mechanical grip that you would have had at the beginning of the race. So everything compounds on each other. So this is going to be one of those races that we may see. I don't necessarily know that we'll have a dramatic battle at the front, although we do have 3 or 4 good quality drivers that are around the same pace. But the mid-pack battle is going to be outstanding tonight. As you can see, and there it goes. And that was too much curb on the left-hand side and into the wall. And that was, he became championship material right there. So it's one of those that it's going to be, we'll be watching that mid-pack battle just a little bit closer today because obviously it only takes a move like that. One car goes wrong and it may be several cars out of the race.
Yeah, too right. And that was the wall of champions we were mentioning earlier. And we definitely could be having a yard sale there later, depending on how this one goes. You got to respect that one. And there are our results. Whoop, and there they went. Sorry, I was a little slow. There we go. Thanks, Mike. There's our standings so far. And those are essentially the results from Imola, where Thompson drove away. It's Thompson from Case, from Green, from Eggert, from Mikovits there, your top 5 drivers with a 20-point spread covering those. And we'll move on down from there. Mikovits on there twice. That's an error, obviously. And yeah, that's looking a little bit hinky, bunch of zeros at the bottom, but you saw our leaders up front there, and we're going to be expecting them to be at the pointy end of this field. And meanwhile, in terms of qualifying, those 131s starting to pile up. Adam Thompson just sets a new fast lap, 131.7. He's got Vic Roy about 500ths behind him. Stephen Case, another one of our frequent flyers, about 7/10 behind him. So currently we've got the top 4 drivers under 132 and within about 0.2 of each other. And that is definitely what we expect to see this tonight after the action that we saw last week.
Yeah, absolutely right. That's those are the a couple of new names up there. I think Fitzroy was not in that top group last week, but we've got obviously a big group of fast drivers, and then it's a second between P5 and like P15. So there's a nice group in the mid pack as well that are going to be fighting each other because once again you're going to gain time just being in the draft. So that when you have draft races, or at least races that have a predominant draft, it tends to keep the pack closer together for a little bit longer. So we may have a nice battle in the mid pack that we get to watch as well as at the front. So you never can tell what's going to happen.
Yeah, we'll be seeing fights up and down this grid, and qualifying a little over half over at this point right now. It's Thompson from Vicroy, from Case, from Green, from Oladipo, from Silja, Jason Kotcher, De Silva, Velasco, and Poborgi rounding out the top 10. A bunch of really fast drivers, and the overall gap looks like I've got about 1 second down to P11. So another very competitive outing by these drivers. I know they look forward to these races. They practice up. And something else to mention, the sponsor here, Sim Racers Group, is actually a brick and mortar facility for sim racing in East San Jose, California. So they've got 10 rigs lined up down there, and a number of these drivers that you're watching on our broadcast tonight are down there. So if you can imagine being shoulder to shoulder with a couple buddies at the sim club, and you could actually talk smack in person while you're racing it, which sounds like an absolute hoot to me. But yeah, we've got about 5 minutes left in qualifying, and Thompson pretty solid at the top of the sheet right now by about half a second, 131.7. Or actually, that's only about 500ths rather. And our yeah, I'm sorry, I thought our timing tower wasn't matching what I was seeing on my side timing, but yes, it's all consistent. And so it's Thompson from Vicroy, from Case, from Green, from Oladipo, who has just squeaked past Silja there and knocking him out of the top 5. And yeah, looking forward to a great race here, Charles. And like I said, just that fine, ragged balance between the areas of this track where you have to be patient and the areas where you really have to roll the dice and brush that wall lap after lap. And that's tough to do for 25 straight minutes.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm just going to throw this out there. I don't want the commentators curse anybody because it seems to happen more than we'd like as we're up here calling these races. But I'm just thinking about last week. Oladipo had a great start to the race. He was a bit further back than he is tonight and gained, I think, 6 positions through the first chicane or up and through the first chicane. If he gets another start like that, he may be pushing for the lead early in this race. So that might be a guy we have to watch as we see the 23 car kind of bounce off the wall there. Little tap, and I don't know if that's probably enough to cause him to lose the lap time, but we'll check as he works his way around. Oh, that's
Yeah, I
definitely enough to do it. Yep. Y- Hey, no worries. Yeah, we'll keep on board here with the 23. This is Danush Baborji as he's working his way around and out of coming down into the hairpin now. So he's making that run down. And
Yeah,
yep.
we're just going to show you a card here just for a second. Mike's dealing with a little technical issue on his end, but we will have it resolved by the time we go green here. And yeah, Oladipo, good mention there. And that start what was absolutely epic at Imola. He moved up 6 positions, and his competitors completely left the inside open into Tamburello, and he drove through there like he was in the commuter lane. And have a feeling that they're not going to let him get away with that this time, but we'll certainly keep an eye on him, whether he's got the clutch setup dialed in or whatever. He was fantastic at getting these F3 cars off the line, and also knew when to take the opening that was presented in front of him.
Yeah, absolutely. And he just, I don't know that he's going to be able to jump out, get that kind of a jump up there, but it does, he did show some really good pace in that race last week, and obviously got into an incident, had to limp the car around for 2 laps at the end of the race just to finish inside the top 20. So, but it'd be something to watch. If he's up here at the sharp end of the stick, then maybe, we doesn't have to worry about all that clutter in the mid pack, and he can focus on trying to challenge the lead.
Oh man, and look at Thompson, Charles. He is looking to make a statement here again. He just took another huge bite out of his qualifying time. He's down to 1:31.6, and as far as I can tell, yeah, there he is. And as you can see, there's nobody near him. So that was very likely a clean lap without the benefit of the draft. So Thompson really knows how to wheel these F3 cars. He's right now showing that result at Imola was not a bug or a glitch. It is a feature. He drove away at Imola and ended up winning that one by 8 or 9 seconds, as I recall, and definitely laying down the law right now, having almost a tenth over Viceroy in P2 and Stephen Case about 2/10 behind him sitting in P3. It is Thompson from Viceroy, from Case, from Green, from Eggert, who has pushed his way up into the top 5, displacing Oladipo. And you see Mikovits there up sniffing around, Josh Leslie, Jeff Silja continuing to kind of drop. He was sitting in P5 for a while, now sitting in P10, and still those intervals, Charles, P16 all the way up to P1, covered by 1 second. And that's pretty impressive in a track of this length.
It really is, and I was looking at that as you were saying. I was like, yeah, this is going to be a battle tonight. Even you keep going down, you're talking about the top 20 within a second and a half. So it's and they're still got coming up on another good lap, so we might have some other drivers bump up the grid a bit. Who knows? So yeah, it's going to be one of those that I don't think that Adam is going to be just driving away like he did last week, but we'll see. Obviously, we talked with the guy who finished in second last week, and he was like, "Nah, I just didn't have anything for me. It was just a tenth every lap, and there's nothing I can do." So we'll see if the longer straights here keep those other drivers in the tow for a little bit longer.
Yeah, and that was Stephen Case, who we chatted with, currently sitting in qualifying in P4. And Case, if you were a fan of our F4 series last season, he was the man driving away in those races. You expected him to have some pressure, a little more competition here up in F3, and Adam Thompson has definitely brought it. And as you can see from our qualifying results so far, Thompson from Eggert, from Viceroy, Case sitting all the way. I say all the way. He's in P4, less than 2/10 off of pole, and running in the 131s, which is quite fast around here. But qualifying winding down, a couple cars left. Looks like Eggert is still out on track. And as per usual, if you cross the line before the timer runs to 0, you do get to complete your lap. So see how Eggert's doing. A couple other drivers out there. Looks like Lopez, Cook, and Dylan are out there as well, trying to improve their lot. But those laps are going to be winding down here shortly. Who is in the 222? That is Eggert. And we'll see if he's able to take a bite out of anything there. And
he pitted.
He might have. Did he just move up there? He did. That was his fast lap in qualifying, a 131.6, 3 100ths off of Thompson. So Eggert has put himself up into P2, and looks like Dylan here trying to improve his time. He's sitting at a 133.8, sitting in P26, and just a couple ticks off of that, and he'll be able to move up significantly here. So Dylan trying to make something happen here at the last possible moment. As you see here, our qualifying timer is already at 17 minutes, but as I said, you get across the line in time, you can finish whatever lap that you're on. So we'll wait on Dylan here to get the festivities underway, but up front it is going to be Thompson from Eggert from Vickeroy as your top three. And Dylan punted. I guess he did not cross that line before the time ran down. It was just getting in a little more practice. So we are going to have that qualifying grid up for you in a moment. And the sun is coming out, Charles. We may have to keep an eye on the track temp. I'm looking down the straightaway right there, and I'm seeing the heat waves rising up. So this track may be heating up as this event goes forward. But we're going to get that grid for you here momentarily as we change over to the session. And there it is. And as we said, it's Adam Thompson on pole. He'll line up next to Christopher Eggert. It'll be Vicroy next to Stephen Case in Roy 2. Then Green next to Poborji in 5 and 6. Oladipo next to Mikovits in 7 and 8. Josh Leslie next to Jeff Silja in 9 and 10. Then Velasco next to Kocher. De Silva next to Ganesh. Aaron Van Wagner, who did fairly well last outing, is down lower than he probably expected in 15. Christopher Wang in 16, then Corwin next to Igor Grunsky in 17 and 18. And we'll give that a little scrollio. Then it will be Duval next to Lebivy in 19 and 20. Pretty sure I have Daniel's last name wrong there. Rafael Cardenas next to Bashir. Then Posada next to Adrian Lopez in 23 and 24. Christopher Cook next to Dylan there in 25 and 26. And is Trantham out there? Yeah, it looks like he did grid. So Jason Trantham will be in P27, and we're going to get this one underway here momentarily. And no pace lap, no kind of warm up of any kind. So job one is getting these F3 cars off the line cleanly on ice cold tires and making that dash down into turn 1 and 2, the Senna chicane. And it does take, Charles, a couple of laps to get heat in these things. So I mentioned patience before, and the first 2 laps of this one are going to call for it. And we are green. Thompson gets off well. It is Thompson from Eggert, from Vicroy, from Case, from Green. No real movement up front, although a little side-by-side action. That is Eggert against Vicroy, a little contested entry into turn 2. And so far, so good. Things looking clean. And I think that is Eggert on the inside. Eggert's going to have the inside entry into turn 3. And a little sideways action by Eggert as he slides dangerously up to that wall. But as I said, Charles, you got to be brushing those walls and shaking hands with them on every lap all the way through this 25-minute race if you want to run near the front of this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see the cars, obviously the tires cold, and people are struggling for grip out there already. And we got two wide going in the corner.
Yeah, heading into that, the faster of the 2 chicanes, that is the 8 and 9 chicane heading down to the hairpin, and that is another place you see that wall painted with tire marks. That is another place where these drivers are going to be rolling the dice when they need to make something happen. That is one of the ways to make something happen, is to take risks, and it is still Thompson from Vicroy, from Case, from Poborji, from Mikovits, and we've had a little movement. Eggert had some kind of problem. He has lost 4 positions now. Jason Green's lost 1, and Oladipo lost 1. Unlike his start at Imola, he's actually lost a position here in the first lap. And look at Adam Thompson, 1.2 seconds in the lead. And we may find out this season that there's nobody that can touch him. Nobody has put any pressure on him thus far. And look at that. His first race lap is a 138.2. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it was a great start, and he had as I said, a great start on his own. But then he had positions 2 and 3 battling side by side into the corner, and that just allowed him to check out a bit. So now it's going to be up to those cars behind to see if they can start closing him down a bit. Viceroy's just on the edge of draft range for these cars. They have a really wide draft, depth, probably 1.2, 1.3 seconds. So as we see, Viceroy's already starting to make that stack.
Yeah, Vicroy reeling him in a little bit here, and Vicroy has got Case behind him. And as you look at our timing tower, folks, over on the left-hand side of the screen, the darker intervals are intervals under 1/2 of a second. The yellow intervals are under 1 second, and the white are a second and bigger. So as you can see, the field still packed up pretty good here. And on these tracks with the longer straightaways, the slipstream will pull cars together. You see a car going wide, losing a position potentially there. But no, actually, that was Oladipo. He got away with that. And, you can use that wide exit of that hairpin to put the power down sooner. And you may see drivers doing that. And my goodness, look at Viceroy has taken a second out of Thompson and is all over the back of him, Charles, like the plastic on grandma's couch.
Absolutely, yeah. He made up that stagger really quickly. The 131.8 times are already starting to drop. 131.8 for Case, 4 thousandths faster, so he's making up ground as well. As I do want to mention that we did have a couple of casualties there on that first lap. Cardenas came in, apparently had contact with another car or the wall, possibly Lopez as well. Lopez had to come in for a pit stop. So we've already had 2, and now Dylan's in as well for his pit stop.
Yeah, and I see De Silva there as well, has dropped 11. So there may have been some kind of kerfuffle there. And when Mike has a chance to breathe, we'll send him looking for that reel. And bang, here it is. And yeah, that hairpin, very tough, especially early on cold tires. And you got to be very patient with the throttle, like I said, and it's a long, horrible wait, especially when there's a car looming in your rear view mirror. You want to put that hammer down, but you can't put it on too soon. And there is Dylan. That's what happened to him. And oh man, he may be wishing for those F4 days without damage, because that car is jacked up and heading into the pits. And here comes Lopez. And whoop, a little kiss on that curb. And that is that very, very tough 6-7. And again, that is another place where you want to put the throttle on early, but you have to be very, very patient. And you see it right there, looping. Corwin it's spinning in the same spot in sympathy, and his body work still looks okay there. Didn't lose a wing, so Corwin hopefully still proceeding. But yeah, these drivers. And here's another one. Here's Oladipo. And I saw a body panel laying there outside of the hairpin. So these drivers kind of struggling on cold tires here early. And like I said, it does take a couple laps. You've got to be kind to warm up these tires if you want them to be kind to you. And Braun, our producer, very quick on the replays. He came up with all of those in very short order. And here's Leslie. For some reason, doesn't seem to have any downforce going into that corner, Charles. I'm not an engineer, but I can't quite put my finger on it.
I think that body part that you saw over on the outside of the hairpin was his rear wing, which is absolutely beneficial for making downforce. And you see what the results are if you don't have it attached.
Yeah, and looking at Viceroy now. Viceroy, instead of dogging Thompson, is now driving in his rearview mirror. He's got Case all over him, and Thompson has taken that interval back to 1.2. So the interval between those two going back and forth like an accordion. In Case has a run here, takes a peek, wants to remind Viceroy that he's back there, but is not willing to roll the dice on a side-by-side entry into the chicane this time through. But I'll tell you, Charles, before this one is over, we got 19 minutes left, and when things start getting heated later, we are going to see some contested entries into that chicane, and they're not all going to go well.
No, absolutely not. And that is one of the prime passing locations. The hairpin being one, that's one. Going down into turn 1 as well, you can try and make a move there. It's a little tougher because you got that switchback corner in turn 2 as you're coming out of that chicane there at the beginning of the lap. So it's a little tougher to try and make a run down the inside because you really have to fight your way around and get clear. But there's a couple of good passing opportunities, and yeah, those will become more and more aggressive as the minutes tick off.
Yeah, they absolutely will. And the strongest
Oh no,
slipstream. Oh, and there's somebody off and dropping down the order. That is Thomas
for sure.
Brashear. You
Yeah,
saw him get loose and nose it into the barrier. Here is a replay of that. And a little bit too much curb there. That is
yeah.
another one of those chicanes. We're just going to call it chicanery. And you can kiss those curbs, but you don't want to go home with them, or that is the result. And you saw it there. And here's Lopez demonstrating again. Has he done the same thing on 2 laps, or did
I
we
was
see
gonna
that
say
one
that's kind of what I
twice?
thought. It looked
uh,
like an instant replay of a replay, as we see there, Brashear into the wall, and yeah, that's a we've had somebody else do that already as well. Though there's a 22 around.
Yeah, and there's somebody else looping it here in that hairpin, and yeah, I gotta say, Charles, Imola was so clean and incident free, and these guys really struggling. And Mike, when you have a second, maybe show me that weather widget. I'm curious about the track surface temperature. The sun did come out, and it is actually I'm not even sure where I'm looking. Oh, 88.
88
So it
Fahrenheit.
it
Yep.
hasn't changed much, but it sure looks greasy out there right now, Charles, with
It
the way these
really
guys are
does.
struggling.
Yeah, it really does. It looks like they are struggling badly, but it looks like it's a certain group. I don't think it's everybody, although I think that that might have been what caused Vicroy to catch Thompson earlier. We may didn't see a mistake by Thompson somewhere on the track where he maybe missed a corner, had to kind of check the car up. That allowed Vicroy to get up there and briefly challenge him. But it looks like Adams back on the march and has started stretching that gap out again. Case, however, is still climbing up the back of Victor and is only 4 tenths back.
And look at Chill just sniffing around behind Kocher, who's threatening a move there into turn 8. I don't think we have seen one there yet. Takes a
Ooh,
lot of bravery. Ooh, and Oladipo almost getting a little more friendly with Silja than Silja would want. That is the battle for 10, 11, and 12 there, that little train. And we're heading into the draft heavy territory right now. See if Oladipo wants to take a look here. And up front, that is the 14 car of Christopher Wang. And shout out to him. He is up 7. He qualified in P16, now sitting in P9. Couple of hard chargers, Posada as well, all up 10 positions into sliding himself into 13. So we've got some folks making some passes out here. There have been a couple incidents, but some of these people are racking up some moves. I got to say that Posada is probably one of them. Chris Wang as well.
yeah, absolutely. And we talked about it. Haven't really seen any multiple cars in contact with each other. It's all been kind of single spins. So fortunately, it's been a little more treacherous on the track, but we haven't had any major kerfuffles during this as we're on board here with Posada. Did notice obviously Oladipo down 5 positions, Wang up 7, Posada's up 10. Is having a great run.
Yeah, and looking good doing it. I got to give a shout out to the Hamilton Mercedes old school livery on that 44. Very good looking car. And shout out to a lot of these guys. We kind of suggested they utilize trading paints and get some liveries out here for us to show on the broadcast.
Oh,
Oh, my goodness. And that is no bueno. For
no.
any of you Spanish speakers will know what I mean there, but that is Silja, and he had been in a pretty good fight there. And we're going to get a replay here. That is Wang heading down into the hairpin. He's going to over rotate it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And that was just kind of a cascade effect there of nowhere to go, a little pile up there. And unfortunate for Shilja, he was looking pretty good there and fighting to remain in the top 10. He's missing some body panels now. It's probably going to send him into the pits.
Yep, he's in the pits as well as Kocher, I think, who also maybe lost his rear wing. And I think that was it Oladipo still out there with no front wing. He's familiar with that. He had to drive that way last week, unfortunately. So as well, it looks like it's back on. So that was somebody else. But so was that Duvall in the background there, slamming the wall, or is that Posada? That was Posada. Okay, my mistake. Yep, misread the wrong line. but definitely came out squirrely out of that chicane, slammed the wall. It's a good way to just wreck your suspension. It's going to be tough to make corners after that. There's Silja in the John Player special. Oh, and that is no front wing and no front downforce, and that's straight into the wall and a toe back to the pits.
Oh my goodness! And if you didn't think that carbon fiber could bend, take a look at Shilja's nose there, not looking good at all. And if you look at the bottom of our scoring tower there, all those drivers in blue are off the lead lap. Those all represent incidents. So these guys having a rough time here at Montreal. But who is not having a rough time right now? Adam Thompson, after 9 laps, has dropped Vic Roy to the tune of about 3 seconds. So he's putting about a half a second per lap on the rest of the field, and looking like this one is going to be another drive away for him. And I don't want to give him the curse, but we talked about him in the same manner at Imola, and he is apparently curse free. So we'll just watch him just kind of drive off here, super smooth. He's staying off the curbs, got a little exit curb right there, and that little dangerous section where we saw people have incidents at turn 6 and 7. You saw how the fast guy navigates that, not even a touch on the curb. He's keeping it on the black stuff. Looking at Case now, Case with Vickery rather, with Case all over him, and knowing Case and having watched him in F4, Charles, I don't think he's going to wait a whole lot longer to make something happen here. If he wants to get up and challenge Thompson, he's going to have to make a move. You see him get a little bit of overlap there, but again, Vickery taking advantage of that wide exit of the hairpin, gets a good drive out, and Case can't complete the pass. But here we go, frying pan fire. Case is going to have a run here due to the draft. Vickery will cover the inside, the outside pass doable here. Let's see if Case can make it work, and no, backs out of it and is going to live to fight another day. I really thought Case wanted to make something happen there, and now Mikovits getting past Case. I don't know if Case got a slowdown or what happened there, but all of a sudden Case way off pace, allowing Mikovits to announce Thompson from Vickery, from Mikovits, from Case, from Eggert, and a little train there forming between those 4 cars, and Poborji sniffing around behind and bringing Green up behind him. So we could very shortly have a 7-car train here lining up to challenge Vickery for P2.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a great move by Mikovits. Just took it down the inside, going down into turn 1, was able to get the pass done. I think maybe the Case might have been just a little too far offline going into that final chicane as he was battling Vickery, and was just didn't have the right entry line. Maybe slowed him down a bit. I don't think he got a slowdown because it didn't like he just dropped time a lot of time pretty quickly, which is how you would probably want to get rid of that as opposed to trying to drag it down into turn 1. But so yeah, it was just, one of those that just maybe on the outside a little too long. Yeah, and you can just kind of see he took a little bit of that inside curb there and just didn't have the right angle coming out. I guess obviously afraid of hitting that wall, and it gave Mikovits a chance to make a good run.
Yeah, too right, Charles. He took a kind of a shallow line into the first part of that chicane and might have backed out of it to avoid the wall, and just got a horrible exit onto that pit straight. And Mikovits sailed through like Case was pulling an anchor, and Case is probably biting his lip right now. He had Vickery set up for a pass, and instead of challenging Vickery for P2, he's found himself in P4, and now he's got to get through Mikovits and Vickery, as Thompson, loving what he's seeing on his relative screen, driving away here. That interval now up to 3.5, and like a metronome, Thompson taking a half a second and adding to that interval behind on every lap.
Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering at this point if Vickery's maybe the cork in the bottle, as they say, is maybe. I mean, his lap time was only 200ths off of Thompson last lap, but Mikovits had a 4/10 of a second gap on both of those cars. I'm wondering if maybe Vickery's is maybe holding up the field just a little bit. Maybe if Mikovits or Case can get by, maybe they could make a charge after Thompson. I don't know. Maybe, or it could just be that it was just he got a big dose of the draft going down those 2 straightaways to make his lap time. Just kind of look out, but we'll keep an eye on it, because it looked like obviously Case was trying to challenge Vickery before, so maybe Mikovits can put a challenge now against Vickery.
Yeah, I think you've got that right, partner. I'm looking at the timing. Mikovits now has the fast lap on the track of 131.585. So he's lapping actually faster than Thompson. Vicroy sitting with his fast lap at a 131.8. So Mikovits almost 3/10 quicker. Stephen Case behind Mikovits also has a faster fast lap than Vicroy. So Vicroy absolutely the cork in the bottle right now. And that's another thing that can happen on these draft heavy tracks with open qualifying. It is possible that Vicroy got an opportune tow there and qualified over his head, but definitely holding up these other drivers. And as I say that, Vicroy says, JR, shut up.
Yeah.
How about a 131.3? And he has just put down a heater 3/10 faster than your leader, Adam Thompson. So I think I will shut up.
Yeah, I think maybe now Vicroy is thinking about the cars behind, thinking he's got a little bit of heat on him. I might want to step this up just a little bit, and we'll see what he does on this next lap. I want to see if he can continue that trend of picking up time on Thompson. If so, then yeah, we could see that 7-car train up at the front. He's going to, because Vicroy is just going to drag those cars with him as they are starting to spread out just a little bit. It looks like Eggert's kind of falling off a little bit. He's got Pavorchi back there. So we'll just kind of keep an eye on here on Vicroy and see if he can make up some more of that time.
Yeah, and plenty of time left here. 7 minutes remaining. And I'll tell you what we saw at Imola is that in 25 minutes, these races are not going to be about raw pace, folks. They are going to be about tire management to a large extent. And that story does not start unfolding. And here is a nice move by Case inside of Mikovits. I was waiting for somebody to make that challenge into that final chicane. Case showing how it's done. Mikovits, nothing he could do about that. Didn't even try to defend. And Case now has his sights set on Vicroy about 1.4 seconds up the road.
Yeah, and just to go back to Vicroy was a 10th faster than Thompson at that time, so he is still closing the gap down. And it's the battle is who's going to challenge Vicroy before the end of this race. Obviously, if you get up there to him, is getting there is one thing, past him is a different thing. And obviously, you got to pass him cleanly if you want any chance of catching Thompson. You cannot afford to lose a half second or up to a second fighting through corners with another car.
Yeah, you're right. And Case already suffered that by making a minor error the first time he tried to get Vicroy. So he's going to have to take a breath and plan his next attack on Vicroy very carefully, because he doesn't have time to drive back from another one of those errors. He's got about a second and a half now. Vicroy is lighting the wick a little bit here. And on that lap, well, Case had to go offline to make that pass, so probably not a fair comparison, but on that lap, about a second quicker than Case, and that interval is still sitting steady at about 1.4. So Case might have taken about a tenth out of him, but he's going to have to reel him in a lot quicker than that if he's going to get by him and challenge Thompson. And that Thompson to Vicroy gap dropping, Charles. It was up to 3.5, and I just saw it dip under 3 seconds. So Vicroy may be smelling some blood in the water here, and he's got to reel in Thompson while keeping an eye on Case behind.
Right, and Thompson's starting to encounter lap traffic, and that's going to play into those guys' hands as well. And it's all about where you catch the traffic and where you can make the move. But Thompson's got the car of Dylan right in front of him. Adrian Lopez up the road just a few seconds, so he's going to have to deal with those cars before this race is over with. And that may be able to bring the rest of this group up as we see him working. And a nice job by Dylan to get out of the way down the straightaway and tuck back in, maybe catch a little bit of draft and pull him up a little bit closer to Lopez.
Yeah, and traffic giveth, traffic taketh away. And going to get a quick replay here. This is Ganesh, and is going to take advantage of that draft, stick it down the inside of the hairpin, and just over rotating a little bit. And that hairpin, that is a tough spot, folks. And pro tip, driving these cars with a lot of downforce, you can be heavy on the brakes when you're going fast, but you got to release brake pressure as you slow down, because you lose the extra grip you're getting from the aero. And that's something that takes a lot of practice to get right. And you saw that driver overcooking the entry of the hairpin by going on a little bit too hot on those brakes. And the leaders right now, Charles, are facing a perfect storm. This is the window, 20 minutes to 25 minutes, where we started seeing tires going off. We started seeing people washing out of corners, and the leaders are encountering back markers that they're going to have to get through, which is even more taxing on that rubber. So we could could have some high drama heading our way here down the stretch.
Yeah, and you will encounter a little bit of what they call dirty air if you're tucked behind a car as you're working your way through, and if you know it'll take air off the front spoiler, which makes the car harder to get set in the corner. As we see a little bit of a traffic there and a spin by the two car, as there was contact, I think, amongst all four of those cars that was working their way through that chicane.
Yeah, and LeBivy there in the 69 car. Well, a little bit of weaving in the braking zone right there. Not feeling. Oh my goodness! And when I said that those curbs upset these F3 cars, I wasn't thinking anything that extreme. But yeah, you watch LeBivy here, a little bit of a weave there, and ends up taking a very shallow line into that chicane, overslows maybe a little bit, and got hit from behind there. And immediately after, that yellow flag caused a little sympathetic spin into the wall. So things getting messy, just like clockwork, Charles. With about 5 minutes remaining, these tires are starting to give out.
They are indeed. Yeah, it's starting to become difficult out there for these drivers as they're trying to hang on to this car for the last 5 minutes of the race. And you can see some guys are struggling a little bit, and some are doing a little bit better. And you can just see as they get into those chicanes, those slow areas where you're taking your time working through, trying to have the right line. And if you feel a little wiggle, you just want to lift off the gas and try and catch the car. And then there's nothing that the guy behind can do except run into the backup.
Yeah, watching LeBivy here chasing Duvall down into that final chicane, and they've got Tyrone De Silva sniffing around back behind as well. And oh my goodness, yeah, that may not be the ideal line there. LeBivy abusing both of those curves, and that has actually dropped him back within striking distance of De Silva. And while LeBivy was wanting to attack Duvall ahead, now he's going to look behind at De Silva, who's gotten him down to about a half second. And meanwhile, up front, we've been talking about those intervals. Thompson still enjoying about 2.7 second gap back to Vickeroy, and Case has reeled in Vickeroy down to 0.6. And there they are right now, coming down that back straight, heading into that final chicane, turn 12 and Lucky 13, and Case getting closer. You can watch that interval dropping, although not dropping as much as you might think. I think he probably backed out of that one, Charles, but he's definitely sizing up Vickeroy and planning a pass, but it's got to be on the next lap. Look at what time is left. That white flag may be out right now.
I think it should be, yeah. If we're within a minute of the end, there should be white flag lap. As we have Case still trying to close that gap. Mikovits is just right there in P4, and Thompson able to hang on to about a 3 second lead or so.
Yeah, and Thompson doing a good job with gap management, and of course, we're definitely not criticizing his pace out there. Pace on this track is risk, and if you don't need the pace, you don't need to take the risk. And Thompson is managing that gap behind. He's held it at 3 seconds for 5, 6, 7 laps here, and really, that is the smart play. That's all you got to do is get the car home in P1, and it looks like Thompson is going to do it. We are on the white flag lap, and he's going to get the checker this time around.
Yep, absolutely. He's working his way down into the chicane for the final time. I'm sorry, the hairpin for the final time. Nice and easy around. No drama. A little bit of a wiggle coming out of the corner, but easily handled by Thompson. And the gap's 3 seconds. Like it's going to be another win and clear track in front.
Yeah, and don't you love seeing that slow motion racing livery coming under the starter stand and getting that checker for a back-to-back P1s for Adam Thompson. And that is a good-looking car as we see Thompson coming down the pit straight for the last time. He's going to throw in a little weave for the fans, and my goodness, 3 seconds. And photo finish at the end there between Case and Vickeroy. It looks like Case might have snuck past at the end there. I was too busy admiring Thompson's car. I might have missed something that happened there on the last lap. I have to ask Mike to replay that for us. But Case manages to push through and to pick up that P2. And yeah, that's a pretty. Yeah, somewhere the cars are back there. Oh my goodness, he must have. Wow.
Got a really good
Very close finish there.
Yep.
And maybe we can get another look at it and see what that looked like from the 12 and 13 chicane to see what set that move up. But great work by Case, and Case kind of recovering from an early error there and manages to get up into P2. So that is 2 consecutive P2s for Case, 2 consecutive victories for Thompson as the cars continue to come across. There's Wang coming across the finish line, followed by Wagner, Cook, Corwin. Looks like Brashear and Ganesh still out there as well. Josh Leslie, unfortunately, looks like he binned it and is going to finish this one in the pits. But otherwise, 24 to 25 cars finishing this one. And again, folks, they're making an adjustment here. The last time they drove with Sim Racers Group, there was no damage. So definitely some adjustments to driving need to be done to cope with the frailty of these open wheel cars. Take another look at Thompson enjoying his cool down lap. And interesting race out here, Charles. Things were so clean at Imola, and did that make these drivers feel a little too confident with how things were going to go here at Montreal? Take more chances than they took in week 1, and we definitely had more incidents as you see Thompson finishing off those rear tires on that F3 car.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's once again. I don't think it was. I don't think it was driver versus driver as much as it was driver versus track tonight. I just think that this is a very difficult track. It's very narrow. Obviously we talked about the chicanes and the walls and everything you have to deal with here as Thompson finally bounces against the inside wall. So yeah, I think it was just maybe some drivers struggling on this a little bit, and just the nature of Montreal, I think.
Yeah, and Thompson busts another CV joint, maybe another diff there. So his owner is going to be having to wrench on that car before the next week. But we're going to get those results up for you here in a second. And that looks like the qualifying results. So we'll give that the old scrollio and try that one. And there it is. There are your final results after an eventful race here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It is Adam Thompson taking the victory with Stephen Case and Skylar Vickroy rounding out the podium. Then it's going to be Mikovits, Eggert, Poborgi, Green, Velasco, Oladipo, and Diego Posada rounding out your top 10. And Posada, raise a glass to him. He's up 13 positions to land there in the top 10. He is today's hard charger. Then it's going to be Duvall, De Silva, Kocher, Chris Wang, Lebivi, Grinsky, Van Wagner, and Cook. What will take us up to P18. And Josh Corwin, then Lopez, then Dylan, Cardenas, Brashear, Ganesh, Leslie, Trantham, and Jeff Shilja. Looks like he crashed out a couple cars. Trantham 7 laps in a rear, and Shilja more than 10 in a rear. So rough going here between these unforgiving concrete walls and the high curbs of Gilles Villeneuve. And I guess that was to be expected, Charles. There's Imola a little more forgiving, a little more runoff, and the risk that you take there aren't punished as severely as the ones that happen around here. But let's take a quick peek out. I think we've got a few people lingering around out there in the green room, and let's see who we want to have in. I think I'm just going to start completely randomly, and I'll bring in Tyrone De Silva, who has stopped by to share his insights into the race. Tyrone, I'm looking for you on the timing. Terry Alex, you came in P12. You're able to improve 1 position from your qualifying, and I gotta say, from where I was sitting, Tyrone, this race a little messier than what we saw at Imola. So seemed like the drivers were struggling out there this week.
Yeah, definitely a rough first couple of laps. I was racing Jeff pretty hard, so I'll definitely go back and watch the first couple laps when I get a chance. But yeah, it was a lot of adrenaline, and the tires still kind of cold. Still trying to get them up to temp, but very exciting start. And then I think I ended up in last, kind of spun trying to defend, and then somehow managed to come back to net +1. So happy with it. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Totally decent recovery drive. And now that you mentioned, I do recall you were in, I think, a 3-car train with Shilja and another driver. And it looked like you were fighting pretty hard there for several laps until there was a little bit of contact. You lost. Shilja ended up pitting with some body damage. So, yeah, you were right in the thick of a pretty good fight for a good amount of that, and got some good coverage on the broadcast tonight. So I know you'll go back and watch that. So looking forward at the upcoming schedule, is there any track that kind of stands out? Any place you're really excited to give these F3 cars a try?
I don't know what's next week's track. That's usually just like 1 week at a time. So
Well,
yeah.
I'll tell you, because I am a professional broadcaster, Tyrone, I have that information right here on the tip of my tongue. It may not sound like it, but I'm looking it up as fast as I can. I don't know, but it is completely fair to take these tracks one at a time, especially if you're new to them. We are following the North America schedule of the F4 public, so it shouldn't be that hard to come up with what the next track is. But all right, well, fantastic drive today, man. Good recovery from an early error. And as we wrap up, is there anyone you would like to thank or give a shout out to today?
Yeah, just Jason and everyone who comes every week to race at SRG. It's really fun. Somehow I always end up racing Jason like on the last lap somehow. So yeah, it's good clean racing. Yeah.
Well, fantastic. Well, we look forward to seeing you next week at a track that we will figure out what is before the end of the broadcast. Somebody's saying Spa. I hear a little
Yep.
Spa.
Yep.
Spa Francorchamps, outstanding. Well, that is going to be a great race. So now we both know, Tyrone, what we need to prepare for next week, and looking forward to a great race at Spa. And thanks a lot for coming by and chatting with us.
Thanks. Okay, bye.
All right, Charles. I'm going to just keep going up the list, and I will let you have a chat with Skylar Vicaroy.
Yeah, let's have a chat with Skylar. Skylar, welcome into the booth. P3 today, but really ran strong. Was up at P2 and was trying to chase Adam down, but didn't look like you quite could get there. So how do you feel your race went?
My race was not what I wanted it to be. That's for sure. Practice and getting into this, I had a bit more pace and just could not get my head around it tonight. And then that last 2 laps, I spent too much time racing in my mirrors and giving up that second place. That kind of chapped me at the end. But it was good to get back in racing. I've been out of the sim for about 3 weeks, busy with family stuff and everything. So hopping back in, and there's a little bit of rush and sharpness when it comes to racing, but I'm looking forward to getting to Spa next week and getting back in these F3 cars, but a lot of fun today.
Yeah, absolutely. Looked like everybody was having a good. Well, I say a lot of them were having a good time. There were some that were struggling. We talked about after the first race about tires, the tire degradation as the race went on. The last 5 minutes just seemed like it was everybody skating around. It seemed like it was even earlier this week. We had a lot of guys struggling just to try and get the cars through the corners. What were your what other than just overall pace? What were you really struggling with trying to deal with during your race?
Yeah, the grip was a bit weird. Around lap 10, the tires can get pretty greasy for pushing them hard. I kind of backed off for a couple laps to see if I can get them to cool down, but I just never felt the balance of the cars right there, and my braking just, the grip for me, it never felt like it was there, even though we're all fixed setups, so that's a skill issue. But it was a little slick. You really had to be patient getting on the throttle. You got to squeeze that throttle. You can't stomp on these. I need to shake that F4 skill and kind of get rid of that and make sure I brush up a little bit better on the pedal control when it comes to the F3s.
Yeah, absolutely. And we mentioned it already. Spa next week. Feeling like you're ready. You're ready for that. I think most people have driven a few laps around Spa. Now, whether it's been in the F3 car or not, it's a different story. But obviously everybody's familiar with the track for the most part. So obviously it's just getting up to grips with that F3 car going around, and especially up through like Eau Rouge and Radeon.
Yeah, it's in the downforce cars at Spa. There's very few things that are a better combination when it comes to racing. So we're gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna be getting a huge amount of draft down the Camel Straight. I'm positive of that. I don't think there's gonna be much between the top 6, 7 guys. It's hard to get separation at Spa unless people get to fighting behind you, which maybe that'll happen. I don't know, but plan to be in the mix.
Skylar, we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs before you go. We'll let you go and celebrate your podium.
For sure, I'd like to thank the SRG crew for putting on these great events and having a lot of fun. I think all my boys out there watch this stream. Shout out to Cam and Phoenix and all those good guys, and shout out to ZFG and Ava Boom Racing. But and also appreciate you guys in the booth here doing such a great job with these broadcasts. I always love hopping on afterwards and seeing it all. It's quite professional. Good job, guys.
Thank you, Skylar. We appreciate that, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.
All right.
All right, we'll send Skylar out, and let's bring in Ope Oladipo. Ope, interesting race tonight, and so and he's disappeared. Let's try that.
Yeah.
One more time.
Yeah.
Hey, Ope, can you hear me? Hello. All right, Oladipo thinking better of it. Let's see. Who else do we have up there? How about Athul Ganesh? Athul, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you guys.
Hey man, thanks for hanging around and having a chat with us. I know that this race probably didn't go the way that you had hoped. It looks like you managed to lose about 10 positions. I'm guessing that you got involved in some contact along the way, and this race a lot messier than what we saw last week at Imola. So how did this race go from your perspective, and why do you think people were struggling with incidents out here today?
Yeah, 100%. Definitely not the way I'd expected to go. I think that was all just my fault, honestly. Like in the beginning, I lost a few places, just cold tires, and I misjudged my braking point. And I think this track, it's pretty hard to drive on cold tires too. And since you don't have that much, there's no runoff or anything on a lot of the corners. That's probably why a bunch of people were just getting involved in incidents. And but yeah.
All right. Well, so looking ahead, we've talked to a couple of drivers about the upcoming schedule, and everybody's looking forward to Spa next week. So, how do you feel about letting these F3 cars stretch their legs a little bit at Spa?
Yep. Really super excited for Spa. It's definitely one of my favorite tracks. Hopefully, I can make less mistakes the next time around, and I think Spa generally, I think probably will make for hopefully fewer incidents than this race. But yeah, we'll see. I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Well, there's certainly less concrete walls there and a lot more generous runoff. So we won't be having people pinballing between the walls like we saw here. So, all right. Well, as we wrap up, Athul, is there anyone you would like to thank or give a shout out to today?
Oh yeah, I'd just like to apologize to Aaron. I know we had we were battling today quite a bit, and I was just trying to unlap myself and catch up to the couple of cars that were ahead of me. But I think I got a little bit ahead of myself.
All right. Well, I'm sure that he will appreciate that when he goes back and watches the broadcast later. And thanks for hanging around and chatting with us. And we will see you in Belgium next week.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
All right, Charles. Looks like we have Colcaron Dylan here to chat with us about his race.
Yeah, Colcaron. Good race for you, at least. Up 5 positions from your start. Do see that you had a couple of, or at least one stop in the pits for some damage, like you took a fast repair and got back out on the track. And so, nice little bit of recovery for you. So, how do you think your race went?
Well, after having that little pit scenario, I actually sped out of the pit by 1 mile per hour and had to do a drive-through again.
Oh.
So, I mean, I thought I was in last place, and then I looked up. So, I mean, if I got a few positions up, I mean, I'll take it. That's a win.
Yeah, so everybody was talking about the tight confines of this track. Is that in your opinion, is that what the biggest battle was today? It was just trying to keep the car on the gray stuff?
Yeah, it felt like the car it was just way too powerful around some of the turns where you had to feather it to just get it by. Normally, this car grips so well around all the other turns that you feel like you're Superman, but on this one, it's definitely not the case.
And then we're looking forward in the calendar. We got Spa next week. Should make things a little bit better. Obviously, lots of drafting going to be involved in that. Should be some pretty tight battles all across the pack. But a little more room for some errors and recovery.
For sure. I mean, I definitely like Spa. I think it's a lot more open, and I feel like I can compete pretty well there. Maybe not alien level, but definitely mid pack.
There you go. You got to start somewhere, right?
For sure.
All right, Coltron, thank you for stopping in. We'll let you give any thanks or shout outs before you go.
Yeah, thank you for your time, guys, man. We appreciate what you guys do, and Jason for setting this stuff up, man. It's really fun, and it's a great time. People are amazing.
All right, Coltron, see you next week.
All right,
Hey,
man.
first, did I get your name right?
You did. You're
perfect.
solid.
Good deal. All right, Coltron, thank you very much. Have a great night. We'll see you next week.
You too, man. Appreciate it, guys.
All right, we'll take one more swing at Ope Olupo. See if you can hear me this time. Ope, are you there?
Hey.
Hey, how's it going, man? Thanks for hanging around and chatting with us. And, I guess the thing that we've been talking about with folks and the thing that stands out about this one is racing was so clean at Imola, and it really seemed like people were struggling with grip, struggling to keep the car on the track, and struggling with incidents out there today. So what was going on from your perspective?
That's funny you say that. I think for my race was the first 2 laps was I took it cautiously. I would go by the chicanes and stuff very slowly, and I got past twice. And then I started to speed up, and then I think I mistakenly hit Varun at one of the hairpins. Sorry about that. And then after then, I think like 3 cars passed me, and I kind of just chilled. I slowed down because it seemed really hard to pass on this track, and they eventually all collected each other, and so it was a pretty lonely race for me after then. So yeah.
Well, and sometimes these formula races can be like that. If you just stay chill, drive about 90% and wait for the havoc to unfold around you. If you keep it clean, you can gain positions from that. So good work in making that strategy happen. And looking forward at the schedule, there's some fantastic stuff on there. Is there anything that stands out on this upcoming schedule? Let me just throw a couple of tracks at you. We got Spa next week, then Sebring, Fuji, Algarve, Zandvoort, the Long Nürburgring. That's the Gesamtstrecke Long, combining the GP circuit and Nordschleife, Road Atlanta, Suzuka, Laguna Seca, and Road America. A fantastic schedule ahead for you guys. So anything on that list that strikes you as fun or exciting to get ready for?
Yeah, I think this is definitely an awesome list. Road Atlanta and Road America for me are great because you're very high speed, very high commitment. I see a lot of chaos in some tracks like the Nürburgring. So best of luck to every single one of us. Hope it works out.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it is a great schedule, and you guys have put on a great show so far. Only 2 weeks in out of 12, and we're looking forward to being here with you and seeing how the rest of the season unfolds. And thanks again for stopping by and sharing your insights with us. And as we wrap up, is there anyone you would like to thank or give a shout out to today?
Shout out to Jason for starting this, and my YouTube channel where I talk about my C8 Corvettes, which I track. It's called Track Day Diaries on YouTube, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much.
Oh, nice. Well, shout out to Track Day Diaries, because who doesn't want to see somebody flogging a C8 out on the track? That's where they're born to be. So be sure and check that out. And Ope, thank you so much for stopping by and chatting with us. And we'll see you next week in Belgium.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap up our interviews here today. And folks, we are not just about these fantastic open wheelers here at Slow Motion Broadcasting. We have got all kinds of action. I want you to go ahead and subscribe to SMB and hit that notification icon so that you don't miss any of the upcoming action. But just so you know, Sunday, Spec Racer Ford and Formula Ford will run back to back at the Red Bull Ring. And actually, I skipped Saturday. Weekend Warrior Formula V's at Phillip Island. And then you want to catch Ron's Race Nights, where he'll be covering the top split of the public server of the Radical Esports Cup at Watkins Glen. That is going to be a good one as well. Have a couple of special events coming up that you should know about as well. On July 3rd, we've got a USRA 160 lap ARCA event that will have cash prizes. And on July 26th, we're running a 3-hour enduro, GT3s for sure, and one prototype class. I think I heard LMP3. Don't hold me to that, but you GT3 bros have a place, and there will be cash prizes for that one as well. So as I said, make sure that you subscribe to Slow Motion Broadcasting, hit that notification icon so that you don't miss any of the action. And my goodness, what a race, what a schedule upcoming. You are not going to want to miss any of that. It's crazy stuff out here, and the racing is only going to continue to get better. And the question is, who is going to have something for Adam Thompson? And you'll have to tune in next week to find out at Spa. So I am JR Gregory. On behalf of myself, my partner, Charles Michel, our producer, Mike Braun, and everyone here at SMB, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are, and hang on, baby. The weekend's coming.